Now that we have Kingdom Hearts on PC, I've really gotten into the idea of experimenting with mods, and there's been one game in particular that I've really wanted to revisit, that being Birth by Sleep. Birth by Sleep is a bit of a weird one for me. I went into this game with the expectation of loving it, and ended up almost rage quitting the game when I first played it. I actually do like this game overall. The characters I like, the story I really like, and I don't entirely hate the minigames. Okay, mainly I just like the command board, but anyways, it's just that the gameplay never sat right with me. So I was really curious to see what mods were available for this game. The Better Battle System mod caught my attention, as well as Ultimate Mix, and that's kind of what inspired this video. Both of which I'll make sure to link in the description. I'll be talking about them and try answering the question, can a mod change the opinion of someone like me or even you who might have found Birth by Sleep to be annoying, and if they will, fix the game basically. And hopefully this will help you figure out whether or not they're even worth the effort. And because I really don't want to spend a whole video just trashing the game. The battle mod is said to add animation canceling, improved invincibility, and improved combat flow. One of the game's biggest flaws, if you ask me, isn't the command deck or even command melding, it's the combat flow. Yes, combat flow, again. And it took me a while before I could even formulate my opinion on why that even was. The game locking you into drawn out, non-cancelable animations with your moves and thus not being able to string your attacks together very fluidly, and then pairing that with enemies and bosses who are, to put it lightly, not well balanced. This causes the game to feel rather stiff and disjointed and leaving you feeling behind in fights, especially at the higher difficulties. So these are some pretty essential tweaks if you ask me. There are some additional inclusions as well, including a script that basically allows you to skip Terra's Rumble Racing minigame, and it actually does work, and I was pleasantly surprised by that. There are also some critical mode bonuses as well. Ultimate Mix, on the other hand, is a much heftier list of tweaks also aimed to make it more responsive, as well as adding changes to progression and command balancing, and even adding some additional boss fights. Not that I was really looking for that, but honestly, it almost sounds too good to be true. Now, I'm pretty new to the whole world of game modding, so I was a little nervous going into this, but figuring out how to get everything set up wasn't so bad. The documentation and instructions for using both the Lua front end, this is what actually handles the battle mod, and KH Patcher for installing other mod files, were pretty good even for a noob like me. The only difficult part was remembering to launch the Lua front end while the game was running, and this definitely tripped me up a few times. But anyways, how is it? Hopping into the game with the battle mod on, and wow. I kid you not, even just in the tutorials, I could already tell a big difference. I'm truly surprised at how much more responsive it actually felt right off the jump. I mean, I'll admit, I was a little skeptical. I decided to go with Terra first as well because he was the one I most wanted to see get these improvements, and because I found Terra to be the most annoying to play as, so if you disagree, I'm sorry, that's just my opinion. You can tell me how I'm wrong in the comments. Not to sound cliche, but this almost feels like how the game should have been from the beginning. I think I would even suggest this mod if it were someone's first playthrough as well. We can now use the guard button to quickly cancel and dodge out of almost any command or swing, so there's no more feeling handicapped or wanting to use your flashy moves. Not sure if it's intended or if it's some sort of exploit, but spamming the attack button and guard button while in the air does allow you to kind of like float around the environment. It's very goofy and it doesn't have much practical use in combat, but it's fun. I liked it. I definitely did it a lot. If you combine it with air dashes, it actually does allow you to move around the levels a bit faster, and you can even use this to obtain certain items a bit sooner than you would typically. Hopefully this isn't something that gets changed because the silliness of it kind of added to the experience. At one point, I accidentally relaunched the game without the mod and could immediately tell the difference. The combat was stiff, animation felt slow and forced, and the camera was so zoomed in. Like, this was the first thing I noticed. I get that it's like that because it was a PSP game, but thankfully both the battle mod and Ultimate Mix have their own changes to the camera. Either way, it is a definite improvement. More importantly, this all feels so natural, kind of going back to what I said before about this feeling like how the game should have been all along. Especially for Terra, who is certainly the slowest of the trio. Now he feels way more agile, and it feels like tackling groups of enemies became a lot more manageable. Ven and Aqua also benefit greatly from the battle mod. Aqua especially, as she's probably the best of the trio to play as already, in my opinion. I feel she's made even better with these improvements. Beating up the Unverse now feels a lot more fun and fluid, and it's less of a slog due to the obnoxious delay from your moves. But don't get it twisted, it still hasn't quite reached the recoded levels of fluidity for me yet. But truly, the real test will come from enduring the boss fights. And okay, it's not perfect, but it's way better for sure. Bosses that had really given me a hard time before are going by a bit smoother. It does feel like I'm actually able to keep up with the bosses more. Again, my issues were due to feeling stuck or left behind in the combat, and the whole experience just felt really out of sync with itself. Basically, the game behaves like you're more capable than you actually are. So, initial thoughts so far. I'm actually really impressed with the battle mod, and surprisingly, I'm enjoying the game a bit more. So you might be wondering, like, what's my deal with Birth by Sleep? Why am I such a hater? I did not grow up a Sony boy. I got a PS2 sort of late, and I got all the games for it. I got all the Kingdom Hearts games for it and for my DS, but I never had a PSP, so the PS4 collection was my introduction to playing Birth by Sleep, and let's just say my love for the Kingdom Hearts series was tested. All due to a particular boss fight as Terra against a certain parental figure. If you know, you know, but whatever. I stuck it out, but something about this game felt off and I could not put my finger on it. I was convinced that clearly I must have been the problem. Clearly I didn't understand how the game was supposed to be played. Even though I had already played and enjoyed Recoded prior to this, it wasn't until after finishing the game, going to YouTube and finding Bloody Biscuit's Birth by Sleep video where he suggested that the game had floaty controls, and it was like a light bulb went off in my head. Because I thought I was going crazy because I like just about everything else about the game. You know, just actually playing it, got on my nerves. And his video really helped put things into perspective for me. My time with Ven and Aqua were a little different. This was when I had the Ultimate Mix mod on as well, and that came with its own changes. If you're wondering why I wasn't using Ultimate Mix with Terra, to make a long story short, I couldn't get it to work at first. Pretty sure this was entirely user error. Going through the list of changes, they made me even more skeptical because there's so much to it. To sum things up, Ultimate Mix aims to even out the overall experience while trying to have you not rely on the typical cheese strats for this game. So things such as mines and the surge commands. The point being, so you actually take advantage of different commands and abilities, which I would say did work as intended. The changes to commands though I felt kinda lukewarm on. A few of them had their levels increased or damage was tweaked to make them less strong overall, which didn't seem like a big deal at first, but it sort of made it more difficult to change into stronger command styles later on. But the major change was that the surge commands were turned into 2-slot commands. This didn't take away from them being some of the strongest and most reliable commands in the game, just made them a little harder to abuse. Nice try though. And I did notice myself reaching for a D-Link or remembering to use my shot locks more often. The changes to progression were much appreciated. Maybe I was just imagining things, but leveling up felt quicker and never felt too tedious at least. My main takeaway still is that the game has honestly been a more enjoyable experience. Now, to be completely honest, I have virtually no complaints about these mods. Aside from a few minor bugs with the battle mod, such as contextual conflicts with like reprisal/reversal moves that also make use of the guard button, encountered some bugs with D-Link finishers as a result of our ability to cancel the finishers prematurely. Sometimes their effects will get stuck and stay on screen. The camera would get a little funky too due to the FOV changes. Luckily, none of these were ever game breaking. So this part of the video will be where I just sort of razz the game a little bit. The main thing being is that I still take issue with this game when it comes to its boss fights. A good portion of them still don't feel good even with these mods present. It's better, but I guess I had hoped for more, like for it to be more even. While the battle mod does alleviate a lot of our sluggish actions, it doesn't quite make up for how sporadic the enemies can be, the bosses especially, or how inconsistently we stun and interrupt them with our attacks. Bosses in this game, like I stated before, are not well balanced, but I feel that it has more to do with their core design for this particular game. Bosses in this game at times feel as though they are busted, cheating, or even just straight cracked out of their mind. It really does make me question what was going on while they were designing some of these guys. Their timing is still perfect for catching you off guard or sniping you from off screen. They still make certain commands completely useless due to the fact that they move around the arena so much and so quickly, so a lot of our really cool attacks just end up wasted on them, I feel. And their ability to instantly attack you without much telegraphing. These are still very annoying, but with that said, it certainly feels as though we're now much closer to matching the pace of the bosses compared to the original game, which is for sure a plus. So, have these mods changed my opinion or fixed Birth by Sleep for me? The answer? Yes and no. This is for sure the best way to play this game in my opinion. The combat hands down is undeniably better with the battle mod because we're not having to fight with the controls nearly as much, and it felt like a more natural progression and slightly more in line with, say, Kingdom Hearts 2 or 3. Plus, the setup for the mods wasn't too much of a hassle either. While it may not have significantly bumped BBS up in my personal rankings, I'd be lying to you if I didn't say that I do like this game more now because of these mods. It's still not better than Recoded though. But I won't dread revisiting it during a series playthrough. If you're a Birth by Sleep fan and have the games on PC, I would absolutely recommend checking out the battle mod, especially if you want to blaze through the game a little quicker. And Ultimate Mix as well if you're wanting the game to not become too easy and are looking for additional content. If you have any mod recommendations, I'd love to hear about them because this was really cool to check out. Also leave a like on the video and subscribe if this helped you out or if you just found it to be interesting. And if you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, bye for now.